See you in the funny paper.
You're listening to The Mean Geek, comics podcasting on the very ragged, raw, leading edge of friggin' civility.
Buttons on, trap is clean. Let's go. Hey kids, it's episode 40-5 of The Mean Geek, comics podcasting on the edge of civility. We're here with the Tech Jedi and the Reverend Mad Duck.
Bless you fuckers, and remember, Mean Geek 45
works every time. Oh, so you didn't hear the news, man.
What's up?
Poor Dick Giordano, he cacked it.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah. I was one of the last people he emailed with.
Really?
Well, I mean, figure there's probably a couple of hundred ahead of me, but not more than like 500.
When did you send him an email?
Well, Biggie had said that he lived in the state. Of course, he was wrong because the guy lived in Florida. But I was going to get him to go to the con, or at least, see what he would have wanted to go. And he mailed back, "No, man, I live in Florida and my health doesn't let me fly, so I'm not driving to Connecticut twice in 2 months." Because he was supposed to go to Comic-Con, which is coming up in May. Which, we'll be floating around at, but not necessarily, participating in. I'll be attending, but we're not on the guest list, let's say that.
We're no one's idea of a good guest.
Yeah, well, the poor guy, he did so fucking much for comics, man. He was an editor at Charlton, editor emeritus at DC, wrote who knows how many stories, pencils, inks, story contributions, character development, so much stuff.
Now, when you think Dick Giordano?
Batman.
I knew it.
Of course, man. I'm the fucking Bat guy here. What do you expect?
The Bat fan.
I am. Swear to me. Is he gonna cut that dog? Don't stab the dog. Okay, he didn't stab the dog. We're just watching some weird TV cop procedural there, kids.
Called Life.
And he found a human finger under the dog. That's fucking disgusting. Alright, so anyway, Denny O'Neil, Dick Giordano, they did some good stuff in the 70s on Batman, right?
True.
Yeah. You came to me with this, so you think, Giordano, where does your mind go?
I probably Batman too, honestly. Like, I did not as up on his overall as you are for once. But yeah, I mean, the guy was a legend in terms of editing, right? Like, he did everything. How many people can say that anymore that don't work for Image?
Very few. Very few. And it's a damn shame, I have exactly one, not ancient, but, mid-70s, worth getting signed Giordano book. The rest of them were, he contributed inks on, and it's nice to have something signed by an inker, but it's not the same. It's not the same as something he wrote or drew outright. But I was shocked when I was reading his biography, and he did so much stuff over at Charlton. He was huge over there.
The Many Ghosts of Dr. Graves?
Yeah.
Nice. That's the key Charlton book for me.
Yeah, it's weird to imagine that you have a key Charlton book.
Well,
because I don't. I mean, how many people out there? I mean, if we were to go to Danger, let's say, or Warhammer, would he even know Charlton? I don't think so.
Would he know Dr. Graves? He might have heard the name of Charlton, but does it matter if you know the publisher if you don't know the books? Like,
no, it really doesn't. You're right. It really doesn't fucking matter.
I don't care if you've heard of Playboy. If you ain't seen a naked woman, you ain't worth my time. I mean, come on. Do the damn math.
Oh. Yeah, poor Dick. We'll miss him. We'll miss him. Just, you want a pool on who's next?
Creepy. Not involved. No, thank you.
I think Stan Lee is going to last forever. I think we'll be in the nursing home before he fucking dies.
Yeah, the way I feel, fucking, I'll be in the nurse.
So we actually got a comment on the site, which is, by the way, www.themeangeek.com. And this guy, I don't know where he's coming from, man. He's never said anything before. He's never said anything before. He calls himself Regular Guy. As if that sets him apart from the, fucking fanboys,
It really does. I mean,
like regular douchebag. I'm different. I'm not like them. I read comics, but anyway, let's see what he has to say, huh?
All right. Maybe he means bowels.
I don't need to know that.
I'm just saying, like, regular
guy. If you got a high fiber diet, that's not something I need to fucking know. Okay, it really.
Bran muffins and coffee every morning make me regular
wrong answer.
Guy.
Thank you for playing. All right, you can tell he's just getting into it too, and you'll understand that once I get going here. Dear Mean Geeks. Long-time listener, and this is my first email to you guys.
It's our first email, fucking period. Thanks for clearing that up.
Don't forget John.
Oh, good point.
Don't forget John.
John, right back again.
For God's sake, we know you're not all that hot on the dough front, but, you could say something. Jesus, an email's free. First time email. I needed some input on a few issues, and I had no other people who I could get an insider's opinion from. Okay, first, Newsarama. Wikipedia, DC Source.
I like the fact that they assume
use your
that what
fucking
we
head,
offer
dude.
Is info.
Yeah,
I've never considered us informational.
We're not journalists. We don't have fucking, we're not in there. Our interviews, as you've heard the last 3 episodes. 1, not fucking in depth. 2,
can't get a word in.
And if I remember correctly, that was the name of episode 44, Edgewise. Input in a few issues. Okay, here goes. What in the gay hell are with all the plastic magic rings in the DC universe? Does each color ring specify the sexual preference of the wearer like I hear those rubber bracelets do in high school? I had the pleasure of attending that big con in SD, San Diego, that I have heard TechJedi mention. When I went to Comic-Con International, there was one Green Lantern and a few fanboys had green plastic rings. This past weekend, I went to a local con near where I live, and there were blue, black, pink, orange, powder blue, vermilion, and plaid patterns. I don't remember there being a plaid, but I'm thinking the Creeper was wearing it.
Wow, a Creeper ring. That would so wholly suck.
I would buy that in about a half a goddamn second. A plaid power ring? Ugh. Are you insane? You know that if the Creeper wore it, you would fiend it.
Dude, I love the Creeper.
Bullshit!
When have I ever said a positive Creeper statement?
Episode 26.
Lie.
22?
You know what? I actually never listened to the episodes, but I have to go back now and confirm.
16.
Shut up!
No, who was it?
Jack Ryder was the Creeper.
It wasn't the... Alright, so if it wasn't the Creeper, what's your...
The Heckler.
That's right. Okay, a plaid ring on the Heckler.
And yeah, I see
makes sense.
Yeah, alright.
You would buy that in a quarter of a second.
Dude, if anybody made Heckler merchandise, of course I would.
Goddamn right. So, that was powder blue and vermilion and plaid. One fan geek had 8 fingers covered in plastic rings. What gives? Did someone clone the Green Lantern? There is apparently a rat's nest o' lanterns. Speaking of San Diego, people there were skinnier. All the Captain Picards in the Pacific Northwest were fat. Oh, and apparently grunge is still in here, or the fanboys are all green here because they must be trying to save H2O by not showering.
Now, be fair, you did make a funk comment on Edgewise there with...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I'm down with not being confronted by the funk. I don't have any kind of need for that shit. But let's cover his rings thing.
Hey, well, let's go through the letter and hit it point by point.
All right, let's go back. Can you please give me the scoop on Dark Reign? From the posters I saw, it looks like the bad guys finally win. You really are behind the times, aren't you?
This reads like someone who's not reading comics.
Yeah, it's just hanging around waiting for Power Girl to walk by so he can snap a picture. That's why this guy goes to cons. It's got to be it. What?
Okay, continue.
I don't like that look you were giving me. A cubby guy in an Air Force hat. I don't know what a cubby. I think he was reaching for chubby.
We can only hope. In an Air Force hat?
That's what he said. Mentioned some political strife in an issue of Captain America. The panel moderator mentioned having to apologize for something. Can you shed more light on that? Although the mod reminded people that comics aren't real, apparently that was a shock to some of the comic book geeks in attendance. Who's Thunderstrike? Who are the Runaways? Does Joan Jett have her own comic?
Nice.
This is very strange. I'm in my 30s and consider myself an all-caps regular guy. I'm into pop culture and comics arenas, but I don't think I am a fanboy, all caps. This is why I'm asking you guys for help. I tried to ask some of the militants running around the con, but they looked at me like I was stupid for not knowing and rambled on more than Sheldon. Wow, a Big Bang Theory reference.
Is that what that is?
Yes. Thanks for your help, regular guy from Olympia, Washington.
All right.
Where would you like to start?
First off, you're not a fanboy. You're barely a fan. I'm not mocking that, mind you. You know, comics are to all sorts. You can like one. For example, there are plenty of people out there that take the Jedi's love of Batman and stop at Batman.
And call it even.
Yeah. But if you don't know about the multiple rings, you're not a fan. You don't have to say, I'm not a fanboy. It's fucking very clear. However, you did write us, which no one else ever fucking does. So, we're going to refer you to Blackest Night, which is the giant. And by giant, I mean unwieldy, enormous, and never-ending. Although it just ended. Irony! Green Lantern Saga. Which, with the knowledge that you've presented us, knowing who Sheldon is and all, you're not going to read. Because it's all-encompassing and everywhere.
You should, however, pick up the huge omnibus edition when it comes out sometime next year.
Honestly, what I would do, if I were a regular guy, and Lord knows I'm not, I would start with the Sinestro War, Book 1. Yeah. If I enjoyed that, I would go to Book 2, and then I would consider Blackest Night. Because if you do Blackest Night without having read Sinestro War, you're already fucked.
Yes.
And if you don't like Sinestro War, Blackest Night is not going to bring anything to the table that you're going to enjoy.
No, you're going to be highly irritated and not necessarily lost, but you will be somewhat bewildered.
All right. So. Also, gay hell? Really? All right. Let's see. What was next? All right. People are skinnier. You know what? We are in a economic decline. That's probably why people are skinnier. All right, grunge is still in. Honestly, while reading this, I thought he was referring to grunge.
Oh, grunge.
Yeah.
Gen 13.
And I was like, dude, really? He's never been in. And now I know he just means filth, and that's never really gotten out of. All right, so Dark Reign. I have to say that he's right. Dark Reign, the bad guys did kind of win.
Well, pretty much, yeah. The bad guy won, and that was
when
set up for...
When one bad guy wins, they all win. Except for Molecule Man. He never wins.
No, Molecule Man pulled some shit out during the Dark Reign.
Yeah, but he still didn't win. He was making up new friends and shit.
What if you were Molecule Man? Wouldn't you be making up new friends?
I'd be making less facial scars is what I'd be making.
That didn't, friends that didn't not fucking call and didn't not bring beer over the house and didn't not fucking irritate you.
I don't have any of those friends now.
That's why you'd be making them if you had Molecule Man's power.
You know what I liked about Molecule Man is when he created his own friends? He had girls and guys. Wouldn't you beg the Molecule Man for like 18 heroines?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't be expecting like dudes hanging out like, hey,
I want a copy of Power Girl. I want a copy of Captain Marvel. I want a Captain...
You totally blanked. You almost said America. You're like, no, I want chicks. Crap. Captain...
Miss Marvel.
No.
Miss Marvel. That's where I'm going. Miss Marvel. Although in the 80s, man, that Jerry Curl Captain Marvel from the Avengers...
Dude, no.
Monica? No Jerry Curl?
Pull your back into your pants. I don't support it. Alright, so Dark Reign was basically a huge comic book event / political thriller in which, due to excellent timing and surprisingly good marksmanship, the world's most psychotic supervillain outside of the Joker, the Green Goblin, a.k.a. Norman Osborn, took complete control of S.H.I.E.L.D., which, without reading it, makes no sense whatsoever.
No, nobody knows how the fuck he got... How did... he just shows up... No, because he was running the Thunderbolts at the time,
Which
right?
is, like, as far as job fucking on training goes, I ran with the Thunderbolts. Really. Suck a butt.
Suck a butt.
The Thunderbolts... I mean, you brought a Thunderbolts issue over here, and I read it. And I don't want to talk about it any further than that. I'm just going to say that I read it. And we're done. All right.
I only got it because it said Dark Reign on it, and it was supposed to have been important.
However,
since 4 months, a mere 4 months later, I remember none of the details of the story contained therein. It clearly didn't do what it was supposed to do.
all I know is of the Thunderbolts right now is that we got that ghost guy who's trying to kill Iron Man and Iron Man, and he's ghosty.
Ghosty.
Yeah.
All right, you've pulled out a Whedonism.
Really?
He's very ghosty.
Is that a Buffy thing?
Yeah. Everything was an E on the end. I started rewatching that a couple, maybe 6 weeks ago. I had to stop in the middle of an episode because they were putting the E on the end of, like, everything.
Yeah, that would start to annoy me.
Way, way, way too goddamn much. And I was like, that's enough of that, Joss.
All right. So, political strife in an issue of Captain America.
That's very interesting. That's very recent.
Oh, I'm unfamiliar with this particular...
No, it was in your last stack of homework.
Okay.
When the crazy Cap from the 50s resurfaced and started recruiting the Watchdogs.
Right.
And they had a rally, and there was some anti-presidential stuff in the crowd scenes with some placards.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it because I've seen plenty of bizarre shit in crowd scenes on, mutants need to suck a dick and die. I've seen almost.
Not quite.
Not quite. But
anyway.
You've seen plenty of placards in crowd scenes that have said things.
Dude, I've read Power and Glory by Shaken, okay? Nothing fucking Captain America does is going to shock me.
But for some reason, a couple of people got, what's the phrase? Up in arms about
Perturbed.
Perturbed. They got
I'm not quite
irritated.
annoyed, I'm perturbed. Really, over some... You know what?
Which is not the same as imperturbable.
But, where... Flag Smasher? I mean, to be fair, back in the day, signs
Smasher.
weren't... Yeah, there you go. There's a blast from no one's idea of a good time. Back in the day, Flag Smasher was out there, but they didn't have details. Now we live in a world where things are more detailed, where background artists fill in whole there's a different level of art happening, and one of the things that happens is you get signs that actually read like signs, and they say bad things when bad people are holding them.
Yeah, it's not... People have... I mean, they've always had problems separating what a writer's saying from what the character is saying. But, I think they got a little excessive this time.
Yeah, but they always do. I mean, but it's like anything else. You can't completely negate one thing, or you go too far one way, or if you don't negate it, you go too far the other way.
You're right.
The Italian Anti-Defamation League would basically like there never to be another mob movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or did back in the day. I think that's calmed down considerably, but that used to be a big deal. But then there weren't really Italians portrayed in the films that weren't mob guys back, so on what level does it become valid and what level does it become get the fuck out of here? Because that's really where my math lies. Is it valid or is it get the fuck out of here? And this to me is get the fuck out of here.
People are just, I don't know what it is, man. Just read a fucking book.
But it could simply be, too, to be fair, that people are worried about kids and politics being gained from comic books and signage. So,
I don't know, man. Come on. Just read a damn book. If you don't like the politics in the book, if you're afraid that your kid is going to be doing something dumb about it, talk to the fucking kid.
yeah, really, if you're getting your political information from Captain America, well, first off,
That's
the
a
overall
bad
message,
fucking move, man.
Hey, well, the overall message, America is good. You know, I got no problem with that. I'm pro-America. I live here.
I'm fine with that, as
But-
far as it goes.
You know what? I mean, the dude's wearing blue Kevlar and tights. You know, maybe you should think to yourself,
Grain of salt.
yeah, you know, just like people that think everything that on The Daily Show is... The man is pretty damn accurate, but it's for humor. So maybe you should look elsewhere occasionally.
Yeah.
You know, vary your new, you know, Captain America and The Daily Show. Try them both. It's like peanut butter and chocolate.
But for God's
But
sake,
for
stay
politics.
the fuck away from Colbert.
Yeah. All right. So after that, let's see, Cubby Guy. Oh, who is Thunderstrike? Thunderstrike sucks.
Thunderstrike was a early 90s replacement for Thor.
Now, what's the exact reason he came about again? I'm drawing a blank here.
I'm trying to remember. I'm certain I'm going to be wrong.
Oh,
at
no,
some
wait.
point.
I think, see if this meshes. Because there was that Red Nordstrom guy when Thor got kicked out that they made Thor. Wasn't Thunderstrike another variation on that theme?
Yeah. He was a construction worker who took the power of Thor with a different hammer. Because either, Thor was indisposed. This is when everybody got replaced in the mid-90s.
War Machine.
U.S. Agent. Azrael. Asbat.
Suck a butt.
When Tim Drake took over, everybody was getting replaced at that point. So they just figured it was Thor's time.
Well, to be fair, Thor at that time certainly could use a replacement. That is not the pinnacle of Thor books in the early 90s.
Yeah, but I don't think they really
No, Thunderstrike
thought
didn't
through
do a good thing for anybody.
Thunderstrike, man.
No.
They could have done a whole lot better job with Thunderstrike now.
No, they couldn't have, I suspect. I mean, there's a reason that there's...
No more Thunderstrike.
You know what? Every time you replace a guy, eventually somebody's like, dude, this dude sucks. Give me the old guy. All right, who's Green Lantern right now?
Hal fucking Jordan.
Who's the Flash?
Barry goddamn Allen.
Who's the Green Arrow?
Ollie frickin' Queen.
And last but not least, who's Batman?
Right this second, it's
Exactly.
still Dick Grayson.
But where's it going to be 2 years from now?
It's going to be Brucey.
Yeah, because shit don't work when you just throw a new guy. I mean, who's done that? Actually, I stand corrected.
Wally West did a fine
Wally West is
job
better.
for 20 plus years as the Flash.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm going to go even better as an example. And I don't mean to well, I love to. But Ted Kord
Yeah?
was much bigger as Blue Beetle than the original
Man.
Charleston Blue Beetle.
Who was Ted Kord?
But it was a different Ted Kord.
All right, yeah. He was, a different type of wealthy industrialist.
But Blue Beetle, think about it, because there's the original Blue Beetle, and then they created the new Blue Beetle. And which Blue Beetle do you remember?
Well, Teddy.
You can make an argument for Starman, but we'll see how the test of time goes on that.
Yeah. And you're going to be annoyed. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how you'll feel about the end of Blackest Night.
Usually most things annoy me, so I'm going to assume that I'll be annoyed.
Yeah, it's a good bet you'll be annoyed.
All right. Okay, The Runaways, on the other hand.
All right, The Runaways, I just read about them. I've never read their book.
I believe I read the first graphic, where they were the kids with powers that were escaping parents who turned out to be supervillains.
Yes, that's exactly what they were.
I did read the first graphic. Captain John Walsh was a big fan of The Runaways at the early point.
Captain John Walsh.
I believe that book fell apart like a cheap card table.
Yeah, but a lot of people are really
Wasn't
really
Vaughn on
behind
that
it.
for a while?
Yeah, he was.
So you'll be looking into it at some point then.
Eventually, yeah.
You're a Vaughn sucker.
You want to not phrase it like that?
I like how you started to agree and you're like, no, I am not. In other words, get the fuck out of here.
Should that be our title?
We'll see.
You want to rephrase that? I'm good.
You are not a comic book fan, but you seem like an overall decent human being, and you should be pleased that you didn't know what Thunderstrike was.
Yes, you should definitely be pleased you didn't know what Thunderstrike was.
In other words, buy a couple issues of Cat, pretend you like comics, and have a good day.
Yeah.
And if you get a decent picture of a girl in a Power Girl costume,
send it along.
You have our email address.
What else did he have in there?
That was it. That's pretty much the end all be all. There was something about chubby people, cubby people. He's into pop culture. Yeah. Joan Jett does not have her own comic.
No.
Okay, that's the last point.
There may be one of those rock and roll comics from the 80s.
God, those things suck. Much like, remember the wrestling comics from the 90s?
Yes.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
If I can remember it, because I ain't promising there, Reg, but if I can remember it, I will look up and see if Rock and Roll Comics had an issue for Joan Jett.
I doubt it. I mean, they tended to be more... Joan Jett wasn't...
Dude, they ran for almost 10 years. Who the hell else could they get?
They did tend to run towards people who were hot at the period they were out. And Joan Jett was a little bit previous.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, you got like the Alice Coopers on the down low, but Joan Jett is possible but unlikely.
Oh, that was a pretty strong one, huh?
Yeah, that was uncalled for. Edit at.
You know, I don't edit anymore at all.
Everything's coming to you raw and uncircumcised here from the Mean Geek.
Whoa.
You'll edit now.
No, I won't.
All right. So
I throw the intro on, I throw the outro on, I call it fucking even.
I cannot be bothered to make this a decent product. Fuck y'all.
What? Well, we've learned how to get past the ums and the long silences. So.
No, not always.
And that's when I pause.
Crafty.
So neatly avoiding the whole editing process.
So, is Iron Man 2 the only comic book movie of the season? And Kick-Ass. I guess there's Kick-Ass just barely qualifies.
Well, I mean, it is a comic book.
Yeah, but it seems to be a comic book marketed to a movie, it's such... Kick-Ass has become such a phenomenon. Like, I remember at the con, Danger's like, yeah, I can't wait for Kick-Ass. I'm like, dude... It appears to be a shot-for-shot version of a thing that you've read like a week ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
And secondly, not to be weird or anything, there weren't even any clips out on the motherfucker. You know, like some guy in a green suit hits people with sticks. I mean, that can have all sorts of... Right now, there's like 45 clips floating around there.
Yeah.
Kick ass this and ass kick that. And
But you know, I'll bet what they're doing these days, I'll bet they're pulling the Stephen King model. Write a script for a movie. If it doesn't work, turn it into a comic.
Do you think King actually... I mean...
King, in interviews, has come right out and said, I write movie scripts, and if they don't sell as movies, I turn them into novels.
Alright, that's possible. I don't read enough Stephen King to know, but a lot of his books
I read
are
that years and years ago.
A lot of his books are so intricate in his writing style that I find that, who knows? So, I mean, that guy's, by his own admission, got diarrhea of the mouth. So, that doesn't mean that he's dirty, folks. That means that everything comes out uncalled for.
Well, I mean, you read it. How else would you explain it?
I never read it.
No?
I read 600 pages and kicked it across the room football style and said, fuck off, giant annoying book. I'm done with you.
Giant annoying book.
Tell me again how kids in the 50s lived, because I don't care. And then everyone's like, I love it. And I'm like, I'm done talking to you.
Well, that was high school for us, you know? I mean,
Stephen King was everywhere.
He was. You couldn't get away from
I mean, not
him.
literally. It's not like some bearded guy was popping out from behind lockers and shit, but...
But you could not get away from Stephen King in our era of high school. You couldn't.
This is a verbatim conversation I had about 47 times.
Yeah.
Oh, Bill, you like to read. What's your favorite Stephen King? Dude, really?
That's all you got? All the myriad ways of the...
I got all sorts of other shit, but,
Did you ever get what's your favorite Dean Koontz?
No, Dean Koontz was, like Stephen King was like the friggin' Mark Twain of horror writing.
Dean Koontz was for the kids who couldn't afford Stephen King novels. Because the Dean Koontzes were like only 300 pages, so they were like $5.
Yeah.
And the Stephen King novels
Dude,
were like
back when you could buy
1,100 pages, so they were $7.
Back when you could buy a fucking book for $3.95. And yet I had the rarest Stephen King of anyone I knew.
Yeah?
Yeah, I found a paper... Well, dude, I worked in a bookstore. I had a paperback copy of one of the Bachman books in the original printing.
Okay.
I gave it to somebody eventually. I'm like, I don't need this shit.
You give everything to somebody eventually.
It's safer.
Safer for whom?
Well, I do still have a lot of stuff.
You gotta start giving away more stuff, man.
You just took a pile, motherfucker.
That was volunteer. You just walked up to me and just handed me shit.
That's called giving.
You should, invite somebody in and say, "Look, man, I got this shit. From here to here, from here to here." You'll end up like the jerk, though. Anything on this shelf between this...
Oh, yeah. Nope, not that one. Nope. No, give it back. I need your wallet and your key. I need more, motherfucker. I'm a collector. Oh, man.
So I think we've covered that enough. Now, I finished reading this book, and I was dumb. I forgot to grab it. I apologize for that.
Right.
You'll have it next week. You'll blow through it in about 35 seconds.
Sweet.
Because it's not exactly deep. I mean, for fuck's sake, it's a Tony Isabella book. Anyway. Now, you see, I don't really remember having read many Tony Isabella comics.
What do you remember having read? Let's
Absolutely none of them. But
I know the name.
I have read many of his CBG columns.
I've read a couple of those, like When You've Made Me.
And I don't mind reading his stuff about comics. So, I just finished reading 1,000 Comic Books You Must Read. And he's got a staggering array of stuff in there from every single decade from 1938 up.
Now, are they single issues in every case, or storylines?
No, not every case. In some, there are... In every decade, he's got a couple that are like 2 or 3 issue arcs. So yeah, every decade, from 38 up, things that you're only going to ever get in fucking reprints.
Well, sure.
And he's got quite a peculiar taste in books.
Doesn't everybody, though?
There's a frightening amount of Archie in that book.
Wait, there's a must-read Archie?
There are about a dozen must-read Archies.
Right from the get-go, don't agree with Tony Isabella. Because, honestly, you've read Archie.
Yeah.
You've read several Archies.
Sure.
You're, a functioning adult. Archie was around a long fucking time. You like comic books. You flipped through plenty of them. I read one just 2 weeks ago. When my nephew had one, I flipped through it. I'm like, oh, Archie, I haven't seen this in years. Still corny.
Designed for kids. It's supposed to be
Not
corny.
even about the kid thing, because I like books. Batman Adventures, designed for kids. Great book.
Not corny.
Well, some of them, let's be fair.
Maybe mildly cheesy, not
No.
strictly corny.
Carl Barks.
Very
Uncle
kid.
Scrooge, designed for kids.
And he had a frightening number of those in that book as well.
Well, that is a comic pinnacle, and I have read some, and they are impressive. I don't know how many must-reads, but let's get back. Stick with Archie. And has there ever been an Archie story that you read that stuck with you?
Absolutely not.
Has there ever been an Archie story that you read that you're like, others must read this?
Absolutely not.
Is there an Archie story out there that requires any kind of knowledge of any previous or post-Archie story?
Absolutely not.
So there are no, by definition of the term, necessary Archie stories. Like, not to be a dick, Tony Isabella, wherever you are, and you get paid to do this, so you're not worrying about my opinion, but come the fuck on. Oh, it's the one where Veronica and Betty fight over Archie. Must read.
But there was the one where they lost out to Cheryl Blossom.
Also, not a must read. Because, you know what? They lost out to other girls all the damn time. Archie was a horn dog who never got laid. He just had giant friggin' spit things come out of his forehead when he got nervous. Which is gross. The one where Jughead eats a burger. The one where Jughead doesn't eat a burger. The one where the nerdy guy, who I don't remember, gets chased around by the giant big jock guy who's really dumb, who I don't... Moose! Who had a girlfriend that people thought were hot but were scared of. Like, horrible!
Although, I'm going to tell you the truth. I think the Archies from the 40s and 50s had substantially better art, at least on the cover, than anything from the 60s up.
Quite possibly. I mean, it's a very stylized art. They've been... Only recently have they even thought about switching it over, and I don't necessarily support that, but there's a difference between, painting in a style that you like and copying a style.
Yeah.
And I think that, Archie... People don't work in a cartoony style anymore.
That's too true.
Which I think is almost a loss in a sense. The guys who are out there, Kyle Baker does amazing things in a cartoony style.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff that I really enjoy, and you're like, dude, make me read this again and I'll punch you. But, I
can appreciate the work and the thought.
Well, you have
and the
like
effort
some Kyle
into
Baker.
it.
It's not like you're a complete, fuck that dude, but I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, so there are no pinnacle arts. Maybe the one where he meets the Punisher, I don't know.
Oddly enough, that one was not in there.
Thank fuck. As for the Carl Barks thing, I'm sure...
Many Carl Barks were in that book.
Well, I haven't read enough. I have been impressed by some of the things I read, but, it's a historical point. It's not necessarily classic.
Well, no, I think that's what he was really hitting for.
Yeah, but I don't want that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a pet peeve here. I'm going to interrupt you, and I apologize.
Yeah.
I like Rolling Stone.
All right.
Not hugely a big fan, but, if I need a magazine, I will grab one about music, or a Maxim, one about boobs. It's going to be somewhere in that métier.
As long as you can ditch it before.
But... when
my
it comes
mystery subscription to Maxim ran out, finally.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
No, it didn't.
But every now and then, Rolling Stone does its list issue. Okay? Top 500 of all time, top 100 of this, top 200 of that, top 250, blah, blah, blah. And every time, because they're a current, they want to be seen as a current music magazine, because even the name Rolling Stone suggests a certain period of time that's no longer present.
Right.
You think of it as a rock magazine, at least I'm assuming you do.
Yeah.
And, rock is not the most current music, or even the number one. Pop, country, and rap are all higher than rock, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
So, every time they do one of these lists, there's at least 10 to 50 songs from the last year to 2 years. And then the next list comes out, and most of those songs are gone because the test of time doesn't stand up.
Right.
The White Stripes. How many of their songs are going to be classics?
Don't know.
Whereas with Led Zeppelin, how many. And even then, as time starts to grade away, some of the classic bands that we grew up thinking of classic bands, not necessarily bands you like, but classic bands, are starting to dissipate.
A little bit, yeah.
Kids of 10 don't know the Beatles the way you knew the Beatles.
No.
And you don't even like the Beatles overly.
Well, I'm not rabid for them.
Well, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you hate the fuckers. I mean, that would be the Doors. But we're not a rock podcast. But my point is that things, just for the sake of things, like, I want to be current, so I'm putting albums in here that may not actually mesh with this list, is as sad as I'm putting things on that aren't as good as things that came later, so I can have a sense of history.
All right, I can see that. But there will be things in that book that you will, tip a nod to.
All right, well, all right, of what you remember, and it's sad to be doing this without the book, were the top 3 books that you absolutely felt were the top, in the must-reads? The 3 that jumped out at you the most?
Let's see. Must-reads. It was actually more... It was more for what wasn't there.
What wasn't there?
What wasn't there, strangely enough, was any of the Crisis on Infinite Earths. No Dark Knight Returns.
Watchmen?
Watchmen was there.
Okay, Watchmen is a must-read.
So, let's see.
I will say, I think Dark Knight Returns is a must-read. I don't know that Crisis qualifies as a must-read just because so many giant events have happened now and so much of it's been negated and whatnot. Is Supergirl still around? Yes. Is Flashback? You know what? You see where I'm going?
Preacher was there, though.
I see Preacher as a must-read. I see Preacher, 20 years from now as being a cool comic book.
Oh, yeah.
Sandman?
Yes. Two different storylines from Sandman.
Why the Last Man?
No.
100 Bullets?
No!
Well, I really enjoy it, but it's a niche market, the whole crime thriller thing.
Yeah.
Fables.
Yes.
Okay, because honestly, as much as you like Why the Last Man, I think Fables is the book out right now that's going to be, 20 years from now they will talk about Fables.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not rabid for Why.
No.
I enjoyed it enough to buy
it's
every
like
trade.
Books are good, but I think Fables is definitely going to be something.
And decides to shut it all down manually, one at a time.
Armor Wars 2, I just think the art was phenomenal. Like that,
Oh, yeah.
JR.
Because you know who,
yeah.
He's on a fucking renaissance of his own right now, man. He's going batshit, drawing everything in sight, man.
Well, for a while, I was despair when around the period he was doing X-Men. He had just come off Punisher Warzone, the first 7 or 8 issues.
All right.
Which I totally enjoyed his art on there. I thought he did an excellent Punisher. And then he started doing the X-Men around 300.
Well, he went back to X-Men.
Yes, but the whole Bishop period and whatnot.
Yeah.
And everyone was very square and box, and it was a
bit,
sketchier style.
Yeah.
I wasn't, as huge a fan. But with Kick-Ass and with some of his more recent work.
But there's several poses with JR that you just know. I mean, you can see a silhouette and you'd know it was fucking JR.
Yeah.
But God love him for it, man. The guy is awesome. Alright, so what else was in there? A lot. Bone was in there.
Interesting.
There was a lot of, strictly speaking, graphic novels were in there. A lot of autobiographical shit by people you've never
Harvey
fucking
Picar,
heard of. He loves Harvey Picar. He's got some Crumb in there.
The Hernandez brothers.
Yes, he loves Love and Rockets. Yeah.
I think we need to check that out because that's been on so many people's top 10s and
for
this and that.
so long. I'm not going to be able to resist the Kool-Aid on that one for much longer.
Sometimes you just got to take a dip, and then
And
I don't have a problem not liking
out.
it. You know what? R. Crumb, is he a
No.
genius? Fine. Am I buying it? No, not my thing.
I look at his stuff and I just like I don't have the independent mind or the subversive mind. I look at it and I just don't fucking like it.
If I want to read things I like.
So do I.
Life is not complicated, you know?
That's my point. I look at it and I was like, that's ugly to me. I don't care if it's air quotes art. I don't care if he's a tortured fucking artist starving in a garret fucking retard. I don't like his fucking art.
Yep. I don't particularly feel the need to read the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers either. Hate to break it to you.
But who else was in there? It's 1,000 fucking books, so there's a lot of shit in there. Of course, he didn't skip over Spiegelman.
Oh well, that is just. I mean,
but he's got a lot of Spiegelman in there. He's got. What
Mouse?
is she doing? She's gonna put the fucking taser in the water? That's insanity. That's a bad idea. Wow, the cop just put a taser in the water where 2 people were strangling each other in a pool. That's some crazy shit, kids.
give me that fillet of fish.
But where was I?
Taser in the water.
Before that,
Spiegelman.
He's got some Spiegelman in there. He had Facts from Sarajevo in there. He had a whole lot of stuff, and he even had Bruce the Blue Spruce, which is apparently a kid's Christmas book.
Okay.
Yeah. But he was a big fan of the horror stuff. He's got a lot of EC in there. He's got a lot of Charlton in there. He's got Blue Beetle's first appearance in there.
Now, how much of it was it just stories to be read, or moments? Like, because there's a big difference.
Yeah. Well, sometimes he mentioned it in strictly historical context, and sometimes he mentioned it because it was really amazing stories, and sometimes he mentioned it because it just hit him enough that he thinks that everyone else should read it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You are allowed to do that in your own book.
That's right.
Like, if you could only pass one book on to people, and not because, it's cool or that emotionally hit you, what would it be?
That is a big fat question that's going to need more than 10, 15 seconds of thought.
Oh, come on, I already have mine.
All right, well then go.
Justice League Europe #6.
Of course.
Is it important?
Class.
Is it important? No. Is it necessary? No. Is it everything I enjoy in comic books? Yes.
Well then, not to crib too much. Nah, I'm not going to say that.
What were you thinking?
Well, I was just going to riff on the whole, because I enjoyed it so much. Nah, it's just Batman punching out Bruce. No, Batman punching out Guy Gardner.
Yeah.
The very thought of that panel where the blurry fist hits him smack in the fucking nose.
Black Canary saying I missed it.
It makes me chuckle and heave to this day. I haven't
here's
read
my
that
point,
thing
though.
in 15 fucking years.
Can you tell me anything else about that issue?
Well, yeah, there was a rather long setup where Guy was just trying to be, in charge. I liked Lord Manga.
Yes, you did.
He was funny. Elron was fucking hilarious.
Also true.
Fun till the daddy takes the Quinjet away.
Oh no!
No, he skipped right over Killing Joke. As a matter of fact,
Swamp Thing.
Skipped right.
The
there was a couple of there was.
Well, he does like the horror thing.
I think there was 3 distinct Swamp Thing stories. One of which was when he first met Batman. There was a more in there.
Young Heroes in Love?
No. Oh yes, which I read.
My God!
Which not nearly as horrifying as you played it out to be.
No,
however, I did read it on the toilet, and I wondered if I needed the paper on the wall.
Dude,
I will never read that again.
Wretched.
It was bad. I don't think it's a matter of degree, however. I don't think it was that bad as you made it out when you played it up to me.
I think it's absolutely as bad. I don't understand. Like, what was it? It was just this weird experimental. Like, what was going on? They didn't fight anybody.
Sure.
They all humped, except they were all like some dude who was playing with their minds, so they were humping the wrong people. Like, what was going on?
Their powers were overreacting for absolutely no reason. I'm sure some of that must have been explained in latter issues, if there were any.
You know what? No faith in that. Horrible book. Horrible.
Sometimes you just got to bang something out and see how it goes.
Well, that was their theory.
No, that was definitely not in the 1,000 comic books you must read.
They felt like something that the boys would be fighting as opposed to a real team. Like
the boys.
It was a wretched book, and
The Boys was not in 1,000 comics you must read. Strangely enough.
Was anything by Ennis other than Preacher?
No. Transmetropolitan was, so Ellis got his due.
Well, I did love Transmet.
Transmet was a good time.
Tad filthy for you, if I recall. Yeah. Cat piss and weird sex and aliens with 8 boobs. Like, there was some strange shit.
No, there was definitely some stuff that I was like, what was the fucking point of that? I'm mildly disturbed here. But it was his shit gun that really fucked with me. The bowel disruptor. Really?
Oh,
is that much of a deterrent?
What I would pay for a bowel disruptor. How badly your life would suck if I got one.
That's just... You know what? We're called the Mean Geek. However, that's a level of mean that was just so far out of line. Niagara Falls setting. Now, Dan the Man was a huge Transmet fan.
Yeah, got it from me, actually.
Yeah, we got a bunch of, holidays and birthdays and shit. We got him a bunch of those.
Yep. One of the few
and
books
I read them all before I handed them over.
Horrible.
What was I going to do? I had possession of them. I wasn't going to see them for 2 weeks. What was I going to do? Wait, hand the thing over, wait till he was done with it 8 weeks later. When he's done, he tells me he's done. I wait 6 more weeks before I see him. I'm going to wait 6 months to read something that was in my possession at that moment.
Well, to be fair, back when he used to buy me 24 box sets, he did watch them in their entirety before I got them. It is a theme, I'll give you that much.
There you go. I mean, it's just, it's a matter of practicality. It's there.
Inconceivable.
Unbelievable.
Grabber.
Like a hammer.
Information.
Receivable.
Sent by the
Lord.
Here and a
broad.
And
a great big dog.
That little bit of randomness was brought to you by beer.
Run DMC and beer. Ba-dum. And the hot Latin chick on Life.
I think she's like Peruvian or something.
That's still Latin. Unless you're talking like, original Peruvian, like
could be Arabic though too.
Azteca.
It could be something. Who knows? Either way, hot.
Portuguese?
Nah.
Who knows? Anyway, it's 54 minutes in. I think what do you think? We've covered enough ground for one night?
I feel I've wasted the people's time.
And that's pretty much our point. Even though we're not half hour wasted, who wastes an hour and a half and literally wastes it because they don't fucking talk about comics anymore. They talk about their fucking kids.
Hey, don't be bitter.
I'm not bitter. They just been around longer and have a larger audience, and they never fucking talk about comics anymore.
Well, we don't have kids.
Yeah, but we have comics.
That is not an acceptable substitute.
There's the title.
Bless you, fuckers.
Have a good night, kids. We'll talk to you later.
The Mean Geek is recorded live at the Reverend Mad Duck's apartment whenever the hell we can get to it. You can find us on iTunes, Podcast Alley, Facebook, Comic Space, our own site, www.themeangeek.com. Subscribe to us through RSS, and most importantly, find us as a proud member on the Comics Podcast Network. Contact us directly through email at themeanergeek@gmail.com.